I always wondered about that scene in the Straight Outta Compton movie when got mad at everybody in the death row because the way they was acting in the lobby. Stuff like that really happened?
Yeah, Dr. Dre wasn't no punk. You know what I'm saying? He got shot in both his legs, knocked this one guy down. Quitters. But this guy didn't quit. He went down and came back up. Doop, 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 and he got Dr. Dre in both his legs.
There was a story that Dr. Dre, I think we were on the Breakfast Club recently, that he got shot.
Yeah, and nobody knew
nothing
until Corrupt said something.
Today, they were known as it was happening.
We never said nothing. Corrupt wasn't even there. I was physically standing next to Dr. Dre when he got shot.
Music business.
This is a lesson to the boys. If everywhere you go, you're bringing your past with you.
When Straight Outta Compton dropped, Dre had everybody thinking he was really out here, hardcore for real. There was that one scene, the one where his character punched a supposed Bloods member like it was nothing. And of course, in the movie, he walks away clean, no consequences. But what the film didn't show, man got bloodied in real life. A lot of folks didn't buy that scene though. Fans could see through it. Felt like Dre was just trying to clean up his image on the big screen, especially after how things went down with N.W.A. falling apart.
We want it to be as authentic as possible, and there's this actor, Jason Mitchell, who actually plays Easy. He did an incredible job. I mean, there's a couple of times where I got a little emotional on set.
But here's where it gets interesting. Years later, Kurupt pulled up on the Breakfast Club and actually spoke on that same incident. And according to him, yeah, it happened. But the real story, Dre damn near lost his life that day.
Dre got mad at everybody in the death row because the way they was acting in the lobby, and he just started beating up on the dude. Did stuff like that really happen?
You know, he got shot in both his legs. Knocked this one guy down. Something happened with Joel.
Now you're probably wondering, how did things even get that deep? Let's break it down. So we all remember that crazy tension between Ruthless Records and Death Row back in the day? It was wild. Suge Knight came into the picture like some street messiah ready to ride for Dre and take on Eazy-E and Jerry Heller head on. It wasn't a game.
Suge had dudes hiding in the closet under the bed, and when he get up there, Suge locked the door. All these cats come from under the bed and out the closet in the bathroom with guns.
Dre actually met Suge through the doc. Dre was having contract issues and asked Suge to look into it. Suge passed Dre's papers to Dick Griffey and the verdict was clear. Dre was getting played.
I said, that's gotta be crazy. What your contract says? He said, I've never seen a contract. Right. I signed something, I've never seen it. I said, we gotta get your contracts. So they gave him a run around, told me he couldn't have his contract. The lawyers told me he couldn't have his contract.
But Dre kept pushing through it, even while fans were out here acting like Ice Cube was the real heart of N.W.A., saying the group was nothing without him. That hit Dre hard. Time moved, but the money problems didn't. Things in N.W.A. just kept getting messier. Dre was over it, especially since Eazy wouldn't budge on fixing the contracts. Eventually, Dre gave Eazy an ultimatum. It's either me or Jerry, and Eazy, he chose Jerry, so Dre bounced
to Eric, and I said, look, man, it's either me or him. One of us got to go, you know. He chose to keep the manager, so I had to leave.
Now here's where it gets real. Dre wanted out, but Eazy and Jerry weren't just gonna let him walk. They expected Dre to come crawling back, but Dre had other plans. He set up a meeting with Eazy to talk it out. But instead of Dre showing up alone, Suge walked in. And Suge didn't come to negotiate. He came to handle business. Let's just say he applied pressure, and Dre got released, just like that.
What's up? Security already knew once he said his name. Who don't know? Eazy let him on up. Eazy comes in. I'm in the studio. Eric walks in. He was surprised. He gave the pen. He signed the paperwork.
Later on, Dre linked up with the Doc again, and they started talking about launching their own label. Doc said Suge was down, so Dre agreed. He'd find the talent, Suge would handle the business. And that's how Death Row was born. Then boom, Tupac entered the picture. He got out of jail and linked with Dre, and they were vibing heavy, shooting the California Love video and making magic. At first, everything felt golden, but behind the scenes, things were shifting. Suge and Pac had their own mission to take down Bad Boy Records, and that dark energy started to flood the whole label. Death Row got chaotic, engineers were getting beat up, random dudes were hanging around the studio.
He made everybody piss in the bucket.
What? So he made everybody piss in the bucket that he made? Now you got to explain the story, Charlamagne. People don't even know what you're talking about. So
Suge made everybody pee in a bucket.
Go for it, everybody.
And then who had to drink it?
He was one of the people that worked there, and he made that one mistake.
Dre was not feeling it, so he stood up at every chance he got.
Dre would stand up when he was at Death Row. He wasn't no punk. He wouldn't let, engineers might be getting treated a certain kind of way. Dr. Dre didn't like that.
Then came the incident that changed everything. There was this rumor floating around that Dre slapped a blood at the studio. Well, it wasn't just a rumor. Word is some dude on Death Row was getting clowned by Suge and his crew. Dre stepped in, probably trying to calm things down, but it escalated. Next thing you know, a slap got thrown. If you watched Straight Outta Compton, they hinted at something like that. But it was years later when Corrupt let the cat out the bag. Dre didn't just slap someone, he got shot in both legs as payback.
I always wondered about that scene in the Straight Outta Compton movie when Dre got mad at everybody in the Death Row because the way they was acting in the lobby, and he just started beating up on the dude. Did stuff like that really happen?
He got shot in both his legs when he knocked this one guy down. Something happened with Joel in the hotel.
Crazy, right? Even Snoop chimed in. He said he was there and that Dre was right beside him when the shots rang out. That had everyone scratching their heads. How did this never hit the news? With Dre being such a big figure, how did the media miss this? Or maybe the media didn't, because there were reports on MTV claiming that Dre had been shot in the leg 4 times during an hotel dispute. Could that have been it? Anyway, that was Dre's final straw. He dipped from Death Row and didn't take a single penny with him. Just walked away. No looking back. About a year later, Pac was gone. And people at Death Row finally started to understand why Dre bounced when he did. From that point on, it was full-on beef between Dre and Suge. There's even this story in the Death Row Chronicles that when Dre quit, he took a bunch of the master recordings with him. Suge was pissed, tried to intimidate Dre, but Dre wasn't budging. Now let's rewind for a second, back to where it all started. Dre and Eazy-E, they were tight. Grew up on the same block. Different hustles though. Eazy was the street dude, stacking paper, while Dre was the music head doing DJ gigs with the world-class Wreckin' Crew and making noise in the hood.
Cause party energy is what he generates.
Because, he was one of the top DJs in the city,
But eventually, Dre got tired of that group life. He wanted more, a new direction. Only problem? He needed cash. And the one person he could turn to was Eazy. Lucky for Dre, Eazy was already thinking about getting into music too. So Dre and Eazy teamed up, along with a few others, and just like that, N.W.A. was born. Their first track, Boys in the Hood. Getting that record out wasn't easy. They had no major backing, no real connections, just raw ambition. But somehow they managed to get it played on a local radio station. One spin wasn't enough though. They needed real promo, real reach. As the streets started catching on and their name buzzed a bit louder, they crossed paths with Alonzo Williams, the guy behind the Eve After Dark Club. That spot was legendary, especially since that's where the world-class Wreckin' Crew first came together. Dre had roots there, and Alonzo was plugged in. Now here's the key. That crew, world-class Wreckin' Crew, was under Jerry Heller's management. Jerry was a real player in the game. Eazy saw that and knew he wanted in. But the only way to reach Jerry, through Alonzo.
Jerry was my manager at the time and a friend.
Alonzo didn't play middleman for free though. He told Eazy straight up, if you want that intro, you gotta break bread. Eazy, always having a little street money to burn, paid up. Alonzo made the call, set the meeting, and just like that, history was in motion.
Williams, who was the head of Crew Cut Records and the lead of the world-class Wrecking Crew, kept telling me about this guy that wanted to meet me named Eric Wright.
Now Jerry Heller, that man was all business. Once things looked solid, he brought paperwork to the table for Eazy and the rest of the crew. That's where the problem started. According to some of the members, it wasn't all clean and fair. Word was, Eazy and Jerry had already made a private deal on the side, one that low-key cut the rest of the group out. Arabian Prince was the first to notice something wasn't right. When they hit the road for a few shows, he could tell the money wasn't adding up. But anytime he questioned it, either Eazy or Jerry brushed him off. Fed up, Arabian Prince dipped after just a few performances. Not long after, Ice Cube started feeling the same way. He was watching the group's fame and money rise, but his pockets weren't matching the hype. He spoke up, asked about his cut from the shows and the albums, but again, he got nothing but smoke.
Williams, who was the head of Crew Cut Records and the lead of the World Class Wrecking Crew, kept telling me about this guy that wanted to meet me named Eric Wright. And
then came the final straw. Jerry Heller pulled some wild move, something that confirmed everyone's suspicions. Cube wasn't having it. Instead of signing any shady contracts, he bounced.
I think Jerry Heller was the X factor, you know. He's the X factor. He's the one who took it over the top and made it where it was a situation where I had to leave. You know.
So when you leave,
that left Dre, DJ Yella, and MC Ren still in. They signed whatever papers were put in front of them. Alonzo later said Dre's deal was $20K per album for 5 albums. Sounded decent at the time, but in the bigger picture, Dre got played.
Initially, Dre was supposed to have had a bigger piece of Ruthless, and he was getting, I think he was getting like $20,000 an album. At that time, he thought that was good money.
Then Straight Outta Compton blew up, and Dre started seeing the game for what it really was. That success was the push he needed to leave. But leaving wasn't easy. Like we mentioned before, when Suge forced Eazy to sign Dre's release, it was allegedly a forged signature. So when Dre tried starting fresh with Jimmy Iovine, it wasn't just a clean break. Even though the contract drama was technically behind him, Eazy and Heller still had major pull in the industry. They controlled the narrative. That made it almost impossible for Dre to get real attention or support at first. And that tension boiled over into one huge, infamous moment. In November '92, Dre allegedly attacked D. Barnes, host of Pump It Up, after the show aired an Ice Cube interview dissing N.W.A. The incident happened at a club in LA, and D later filed a $22.7 million lawsuit.
In Los Angeles, D. Barnes, host of the Fox TV rap show Pump It Up, is filing a civil suit against Dr. Dre.
That whole era, it was straight chaos for Dre. He got caught up in a brawl at a music convention in New Orleans. Then came a car crash. Then the wild rumor that he burned his own house down. And while all that was happening, Eazy came for him hard. He filed a lawsuit, accusing Dre of faking his signature and using threats to break out of Ruthless. Then in October '92, the AP reported Eazy had even taken Sony to court under federal racketeering laws. He claimed Dre, Sony, and others conspired to destroy Ruthless Records. He wanted $54 million in damages. Why the fire? Because Dre dropped Deep Cover with Snoop, his first real move post-Ruthless, and it ended up on a major film soundtrack. No approval from Eazy, no cut for Ruthless. While all the lawsuits, beef, and media drama were spinning out of control, Dre was quietly in the lab, cooking up his debut solo album, The Chronic. But here's the thing. As dope as the music was, nobody wanted to touch it. Labels didn't want the smoke. All the legal mess with Eazy-E and Jerry Heller had Dre looking radioactive, like signing him was just asking for trouble. Except for one guy, Jimmy Iovine over at Interscope. Jimmy heard The Chronic and knew right away it was special. He believed it could shift the whole hip-hop landscape. But getting Dre on board wasn't just about pressing play and signing contracts. He had to step into the crossfire between Dre, Eazy, and Jerry. So Jimmy jumped into negotiations with Eazy and Heller to settle things.
Jimmy called and said, hey, I don't think that Dre will ever record for your company again. And we had been trying to make things right, and his people just wouldn't allow it.
And yeah, it wasn't cheap. The deal? Dre could walk away from Ruthless and officially sign with Interscope, but he had to give up 20% of everything he earned for the next 6 years. That's albums, tours, merch, everything. Dre and Jimmy looked at each other, said screw it, and signed the papers.
You can say all you want to say. Basically, you could diss me all you want, but I'm gonna get paid.
With the deal done, Dre finally dropped The Chronic on December 15th, 1992. And from the jump, he and Snoop came out swinging. The album opened with some not-so-subtle jabs at Eazy and Jerry, and then came the bangers. Dre Day lit everything up. Eazy got clowned as Sleazy E, and Ruthless Records got renamed Useless Records in the music video.
Thought I was sleazy, I thought I was a mark, cause I used to hang with Easy. And I'm
Petty? Maybe. Effective? Absolutely. That track shot up to number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100. Dre and Snoop weren't playing. They even recorded another diss, puffin' on blunts and drankin' Tanqueray, but the version that leaked didn't include the most savage bars, so it kinda slid under the radar. Naturally, fans were waiting for Eazy's response, and when he came back, he didn't hold back. He linked up with Compton's own Dresta and BG Knockout to put together real G's. It was direct, it was cold, and it hit hard. In the video, Eazy even flipped the script by casting the same actor Dre used to mock him, AJ Johnson, to play Sleazy E again. This time, fake Eazy was getting clowned and beat down.
I guess Eazy seen it. So Eazy called me. He like, man, you know everybody thought that was me in the video.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He like, man, you gotta do my video.
But behind the scenes, things got wild. On the second day of shooting, AJ Johnson disappeared. Later, he claimed Suge Knight rolled up on him with a gun and told him to back out of the video. Typical Suge. Eazy didn't trip. He found a replacement and finished the video anyway. By August '93, the diss track dropped along with the video. Eazy, Dresta, and BG Knockout called Dre and Snoop fake gangstas, claiming they never lived the life they rapped about. Eazy even took a shot at Dre's world-class Wreckin' Crew days, makeup and all.
All of a sudden, Dr. Dre is the G thing, but on his own album covers, he was a she.
That track made noise, climbing to number 42 on the Billboard charts. Then Suge jumped in the mix saying he wanted to slap Dresta and BG Knockout. And like fate had a sense of humor, they all crossed paths at a Grand Slam show where MC Ren was performing. But instead of throwing punches, Suge switched it up. He tried to recruit them to death row. Dresta and BG weren't having it. They stayed loyal to Eazy. Eazy ran with the momentum, hitting TV shows and interviews, calling Dre, Snoop, and the whole death row crew fake studio gangstas. Then, on October 19th, 1993, he dropped his EP It's On. Dr. Dre, 187 Yum Killa. It wasn't all about Dre, but let's be real, he kept the shots coming, especially on tracks like It's On. The EP was a monster. It went double platinum within a year, and just like that, Eazy proved he wasn't fading out quietly. As the beef heated up, it stopped being just Dre versus Eazy. It turned into a full-on ruthless versus death row war. Whole camps got pulled in. It was artist against artist, track for track, bar for bar. Then in November '93, Snoop Dogg came through like a wrecking ball with Doggy Style, his debut album. The hype was unreal. It broke records and had everyone's attention. And Snoop, he kept the feud alive, throwing slick shots at Eazy during a freestyle on the Arsenio Hall show.
CPT, what's up, Eazy? I'm getting kinda greasy.
Things seemed to calm down after that, at least on the surface. Eazy started switching gears, focusing more on business than beef. In early '94, he launched the Ruthless radio show on 92.3 The Beat. Most of the time, he kept it cool and professional, but every now and then, he couldn't resist throwing shade at Dre, Snoop, and the whole Death Row squad. Then he dropped a bomb. Don't Bite the Funk, a track by Cocaine and Cold 187 that straight up accused Dre of stealing Ruthless's whole funk wave. That track stirred the pot heavy. Death Row wasn't about to let that slide. Not long after, Thaw Dog Pound, The Doc, and Michelle Ali called in live to the Ruthless radio show, and the back and forth on air got real heated. By August '94, the tension was back in full swing. Thaw Dog Pound dropped What Would You Do on the Natural Born Killers soundtrack, aiming straight at Eazy, Dresta, BG Knockout, and Ruthless Records as a whole. But according to people close to Eazy, he wasn't stressing. Deep down, he was hurt that Dre dipped out and started dissing him, but he brushed it off as part of the game. In fact, Eazy even played the Chronic on his radio show. Just not Dre Day. That move, it sent Suge Knight into a rage. Word was, he called the station threatening to shut things down. Eazy, he laughed and ran back a full set of Death Row tracks just to poke the bear. Then in November '94, Eazy clapped back hard with his own version of What Would You Do? This one featuring Dirty Red. It was one of his most direct shots at death row yet, and the energy was raw. Tension hit a whole new level at the 1994 Billboard Music Awards on December 7th. Both squads were in the building. BG Knockout said he spotted the entire death row crew just a few rows ahead. After the show, Suge Knight made a move. He walked straight up on Eazy. Things got tense. BG, Dresta, and a few others stepped in. Everyone squared up, but right before it got physical, an OG stepped between them and shut it down. Not here, he warned, not now. Still, BG later said one of their boys dipped out, went back to Compton, grabbed 7 straps, and came right back.
After the award ceremony, we had 2 homies with us. They came back to the hood, they brought straps for everybody, so we went outside, everybody was strapped up. So we got outside, we like, Suge, what's happening? Like, I thought you was gonna do something when we get out.
A lot of people, Keef D, BG, others, always said Suge never pushed it too far with Eazy because Eazy had some real protection. Word was the Compton Crips had Eazy's back heavy, and making a move on him or his people, that could have started a whole different kind of war. By early '95, though, the beef had cooled off. Eazy had bigger things on his mind. He was ready to get the band back together, literally. He wanted to reunite N.W.A, knowing just how big that moment would be. Not just for hip-hop, but for business. That same year, he ran into Ice Cube in New York, and just like that, they buried the hatchet. It was all love, all respect. The path was clear for a comeback. Meanwhile, Eazy was laser-focused on building up Ruthless. He'd just signed Bone Thugs and Harmony, and he believed they were the future. He was in full mogul mode, planning the next takeover. But then, everything changed. On February 16, 1995, Eazy started having trouble breathing. He thought it was just another bout of bronchitis, something he'd dealt with before. He checked into the hospital thinking he'd be out in no time. That same night, BG Knockout said Eazy was even in the studio, working on another diss aimed at Thaw Dog Pound. But something went wrong. His condition took a sudden turn. Fast. He didn't bounce back this time. Eazy stayed in the hospital for weeks. And then, on March 26, 1995, he passed away.